If you're 45 or older, talk to your doctor, schedule colonoscopy. Sorry, I thought I had this set up for 5:30. I put in the description 5:30, but we actually it was actually set to go live at 5:14 or something. That was what time I was setting all this up. Anyways, we got our bees today, which is fantastic. And since we are a little early, you can watch me set up the hive for a few minutes here. And we can smoke one. I gotta hydrate. They've been dehydrated and drinking these caffeinated, energized coffee drinks. Got up really early this morning. That's not uncommon, but I didn't then go freaking take a nap right away. Well, that's what usually happens. I'll get up at 3 o'clock and then about 2 hours later, I'll take a nap for an hour and a half and then get up and go. And instead today, I got up at 3 o'clock and just went. But we're here now. Hope everybody's doing well. I saw a few people caught that first video, so I know there's going to be at least 5 or 6 people watching at Dr. Dank Nugz tonight. So that's good. You can see my wall of heroes over here, the hero wall. I did add my email address to the description of the channel. I don't know, I didn't look to find out where exactly that is, but you should be able to find it. If you want to contact me, go ahead and use that email. Just make sure that you identify yourself as who you are as far as what I know you as. And chances are I'll probably click on it, I guess, if I've known you for a while. Right now, we're just going to set up this hive. It's got, probably, probably about 40 pounds of honey in it. The bees froze out last year. We've had some really big swings in the temperature, and then it got super cold for a super long time. And slowly but surely, the colony started to shrink, and they died off. But it left remnants in here, so I can show you kind of what it should look like in the next coming weeks. But anyways, I see somebody's here. Robert's Place, how's it going? Lazy Clouds, what's up? Thanks to everybody for stopping by. We got our bees today. Right now, they're outside cooling off. And then hopefully they'll cool off enough to where they're docile enough to get them in the hive. I don't want to have to spray them with sugar water, but if that's the case, if it comes to where they're too lively, we'll spray them down with some sugar water. That'll slow them down and keep them in the hive while we set the rest of it up. Let's see. Put this down a bit. I'll get a chair. Finally, freaking spring. We've got a few clones going of some White Widow. Really happy to have gotten those gifted to me. I've gifted a couple out so far, and I plan on gifting out one more. And then if I do get some other stuff in, and I'm popping seeds too, I just want to make sure I have something that I know is good backed up for here, so I'm not wasting the whole year. And then I want to make sure my friends have something that we know is good. But anyways, this is what some capped honey looks like. This is at the midpoint of January, early midpoint in January. You can see they were consuming some of the honey they had stored away on the sides, but they never got to this point here because, of course, then they died. They froze, which left me with all the insect frass that I'm going to be using this year. So, get to the chats here in a second. Anyways, what do we got here? Robert's Place says, good evening. Oh, wait, I was going to turn on the chat over here, too, so maybe I can read it a little easier. We're just setting up now. Not that I ever dial in everything real great, but Robert's Place says, good evening. Lazy Cloud says, cheers, Corgan. Lazy Cloud says, cheers, Robert. Vice versa with Robert to Lazy Clouds. And it's going good. Perfect. Nice honey. Thank you. Yeah. We get some pretty good honey around here, I gotta say, and some unique stuff. It's called linden, and it's also called basswood. It's the same thing, but depending on what part of the world you're from, because it grows all over the world. Linden trees or basswood trees, they're honey. Here on this property, we have one tree, and that's the only one I know of in the area. And I get probably 20 gallons of honey from that one tree when it blooms and produces nectar. It usually produces nectar 3 out of 5 years, but it could be a year here where it produces and then a couple years off and then whatever. Last year, I think of a combination of the weather we had and that linden tree not pollinating or not producing any nectar, we didn't get a whole lot of honey last year. But let me concentrate on this for a second. The chat, live chat. Oh, hey, since we're doing this now, I just hit the like button. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. People watching in the future. Check out some of these other videos. We're not just all about bees around here. We're mostly about other things. Maybe you're, what they call it, basement lettuce, or I don't know what else. Crazy names they come up with some stuff. But, okay, come on. I'm not very technologically inclined, so it takes me about 4 tries to do everything. Live chat. All right. That should be on. Yes, it says connecting. All right, so we've got our beehives. We've got our bee frames. Ugh. Okay, this one's full of honey probably. Oh. There's some darker stuff. Now this is a brood chamber bee frame. So it has darker cells. Okay, this is an older one too. These darker cells have a membrane in it from prior eggs that have been laid in those cells. When the bees hatch, the membrane stays behind and it turns darker. And some of that darkness could be because it's recycled wax. Pollen also. Okay, well, if you look down in here, there's some yellow. It's hard to see what I'm looking at right now, but yeah, it's hard to see in there. The bees will clean all this out, but we're not going to leave that right in the space they're going to be working in as soon as we put them in there. So we're going to pull some of this out that has honey on it and put in empty frames or nearly empty frames, provided we have some. There we go. All right, now this is a completely empty frame there. That's going to go right, and look at how beautiful that stuff is. In the future, if you're familiar with bees, a lot of the times there'll be drone cells down here or messed up comb, or they won't fill it all the way. That is a beautifully drawn out comb. Both sides are just immaculate. So that's going right in the center. The queen's going to start laying in that as soon as she's released from her queen cage, and you're going to learn what that is here in the near future. Now, we got to keep an eye on time. Dr. Dank Nugz goes on at 6, and we're going to link up with his show. This is an example of what the first few days of, so this, like I said, this happened in the first few weeks of January, and that's when the bees start to regenerate the colony for the spring. So the queen was starting to lay a few patches of eggs through here, and as the weeks go on, because she doesn't, if she would lay like thousands of eggs at one time, the brood would outstress the freaking rest of the colony, because you got bees that do pollen collection and nectar collection and nursing and all different kinds of stuff, but you can't just, every bee has a job. So when these bees hatch, they're going to take over taking care of the baby bees that hatch, or the larva that's in here, and the nurse bees is what they call them. So you start out small. They start out in January, slowly work their way into getting stronger and stronger. Right now, we're going to leave nice open spots to lay their eggs. This one's going to go probably on one of the outside frames. There's going to be one of the outside frames. There's another little patch. So that would have been on the other side, the frame next to, where that last one was. So she was starting to take off. And then we got 3 weeks of just brutal, relentless freaking cold around here. And it just slowly knocked out little chunks of them. Yeah, okay, so Lazy Cloud says that's awesome. He was thinking about getting into bees. I would suggest it, but I would suggest you find a mentor and definitely check with your local, regulations and your local authorities, because if you live in a residential zone, chances are they've got some kind of regulations, preventing you, something similar to chickens. Now, this one here is what they call pollen bound. Okay, they've packed in pollen in that over the years, and slowly but surely, just they didn't use it all or whatever. Now, you could probably try and put that in there and see if they clean that out. And it's not all pollen, there is some honey in there. And basically, so what was going on, here's kind of the deal. As the bees, they start out with something like this. Say that's a full frame of honey in the winter. They'll start using this honey as food throughout the winter and work their way up through the hive. As they eat this outer layer of honey, this is wax on the outside. They'll remove that. Underneath it is honey, and underneath that is pollen. Throughout the winter, they'll eat the honey on the outside and start to come into that pollen right around the beginning of January. Okay, what happens? That happens in the beginning of January. What happens in the middle part to the end of the part of January? That's what I just showed you, this. So when they tap into that pollen that's stored away, it's like a time-release capsule. When they hit that pollen, they start feeding it to the queen. That triggers the queen to start laying eggs. When the pollen starts naturally coming in from the outside, that's what kicks her into high gear, and she starts to lay multiple eggs once she has a colony that's big enough to support the new life they're going to be getting. So my hands are getting sticky as hell. I was like, why was I going to put gloves on there? Go figure. We're working with a freaking beehive full of honey. All right, so most of these frames are pretty full, but this one's empty. Pretty much, you got one little corner. You can see it's damaged. That ain't gonna mess with them at all. or at least I've never noticed it messing with them. So that's going to be one of them that are on the second to the inside. I'm going to lay these out in here, and then we're going to pull out the 4 frames in the center and dump our bees in, and they're going to live in this bottom box for a few weeks. I might have to run out and get some more frames, but here's another one. Very dark, but very empty and very perfect. This is some of the other, well, these are queen cells down here, queen cups, actually. That's some of the mischief they get up into, but there's another perfect frame. These are getting to be a little, oh, well, yeah. So they're about at their half-life. After about 6 years, I usually replace these, but before usually it gets to that 6-year point, we usually have pollen boundness. We get a lot of pollen around here, a freaking lot of pollen. All right, so we got 3 center ones right now. Here's another one that's decent. These are queen cups, so they were having issues at some point last year, or queen cells, I mean. So they probably had a swarm at some point. I was really, really busy with about 14 other things last year, so these guys got put kind of on the back burner. But we're gonna use this. We're gonna use that frame. They'll patch up some of that stuff. I could smash all this down, and chances are they'd fix it. But right now, we're just gonna use it. I'm gonna put it in the back of the hive. Put that messed up part in the back of the hive. Seems like they like to put a lot of the drone cell stuff in the front. So if I put it in the back, maybe they'll get rid of it. All right, what else we got here? There's another frame of honey. And this looks like it's probably all honey, so I could extract that if I had several more frames. But what we'll do is we'll put that on the outside here of the box. They're going to fill that up with honey this winter anyways, and before they actually go to store anyway honey for us, they're going to put some honey in the outsides of the bottom box and the upper box. So if we start out with honey in there, they don't have to work so hard on getting to the point to where they can start storing away for us. So what do we got? We got 4. So we got 4 empty frames right now. All right, here we go. Here's all our empty frames. Here's a little patch of cells, or of covered cap brood. Sorry. So that was probably some of the center ones. And we're going to put those right back in the center, or that right back in the center. So, oops, it's always good for them. One thing you don't have to worry about, if anything looks dirty or whatever, there's some of the cleanest things on the freaking planet, if not the cleanest animal on the planet or creature. They'll clean this stuff right up. And as a matter of fact, if they get if a mouse gets in there and they kill it and they can't get it out of the hive, they'll take the beeswax and propolis and cover that mouse or whatever it is with that stuff, and it'll mummify inside the hive and stay there forever, hermetically sealed. All right, what else we got? One more. Now this one's a little pollen bound, but I think they'll take that out of there. Got honey and empty. All right, so we're going to put the empty on the inside, honey on the outside. Okay. Boom. We need one more frame. That's this one here. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna put all the rest of these in this other one. A lot of weight in there. As soon as I'm done getting these back in the box here, I'm gonna go wash my hands, and we should be pretty close to time to talk to the doctor. Oh yeah, that's heavy. I think there's 50 pounds in there. Whew. Sitting drones, I potted your cush today. Awesome. I hope you have as good as luck as I did with my OG last year. For sure. That was fire. I still got, well, actually, I don't. My buddy gave me back some of the OG bubblegum kush that I had last year. Just in case I happen to run into somebody this week, which is possible. Well, I want to have an example of what I've grown. The smoke. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? All right. What time is it? Oh, we got a few minutes. Check underneath here, make sure it's clean. We got a couple of bees. Now the bees themselves will clean out a lot of this stuff. I think I already said that, but even the dead bees, they'll take them out. Well, might as well keep all the mess in the same spot. So, I'll explain to you guys what's going to be going on. We're going to take the center 4 frames out of this box. We're going to open up our bee bus, and that's outside. I want the bees to be cool I guess I don't need to put these on yet. I want the bees to be nice and cold so I don't have to spray them down with sugar water. Keeping them cool keeps them in a tight ball, keeps them together, keeps them trying to glom onto the queen to keep her warm. So I have them outside. It's probably, I don't even know what temperature is. It's telling me on here it's 38 degrees. So that's a little warm actually. So they're going to be a little rambunctious. Depending on how much they're moving around, I may get a little sprinkle of water because we are inside the garage right now and I don't need a billion bees flying around the garage. But the queen comes in a little wooden box and we're going to pinch her in her box right here in the center of in the front center part of the hive here. And then we're going to take one of these. This is 2 pollen patties, winter patties put together, but we're going to take one of these pollen patties and set it behind the queen, right on the center of the brood chamber, basically like this, right? And we could put some scratches in the bottom, but it doesn't matter. They're going to get through it. And this is going to sustain them for a few days, up to a couple of weeks. For certain through the night. Through the night, they're going to be cleaning out this hive, but they're going to be locked in the hive. Right now, the queen is going to be locked in a queen cage inside the hive. There's going to be a little hole in that queen cage, and we're going to stuff a little mini marshmallow in there. Okay? That's a time-release capsule. We're going to put that in there then. The queen from the inside is going to start eating that marshmallow, and the other bees from the outside are going to start eating that marshmallow. There's a wire mesh on the top of that cage. The bees are going to be able to feed the queen until she can get released from that cage. This whole time, since this bus of bees, my box of bees, has been on a semi with 1,000 other queens, none of these bees are familiar with each other. They don't know whose queen is who and whatever, right? So this whole time they're eating this marshmallow. The potential is if you were to release that queen right into the hive then, they would kill her because they don't exactly know who she is. Okay? Over time, the day it takes, 24 hours or so it takes to get that marshmallow eaten and them to release her, her pheromones are building up in this colony. They're getting familiar with her. She gets released. They accept her. She goes to laying eggs. So we're going to put them in here, lock them in there so they can't get out. If they get out, they may not come back because their pheromones aren't built up there. They don't know where their queen is. They're going to go searching around for who knows what. So the whole point of our exercise is today is get the bees in here, get them locked in there, and get that queen smell in there to build up so they know where to come back to. When I open that hive up, they're going to be coming out with dead bees and excrement and freaking larvae and whatever else that was in there. They're going to be coming out with that stuff left and right, trying to get rid of it. I'm going to have a feeder pail on the front of it, or no, a feeder pail on the top of it. They do have an entrance feeder too that we could use, but I'm going to use a feeder pail on the top. And as they're bringing that in, that's cycling, that's keeping the colony thinking, okay, everything's going well, and we need to kick everything into high gear. They fill up 70% of this thing, which is going to be in like a week because of all the resources that are in there right now. So in like a week, we're going to take this other box and stick it on top. And then probably a couple weeks after that, depending on the weather, depending on everything, kind of like our favorite flower, it's strain dependent, let's say. Depending on that, it's kind of directs when you do what. But probably by July, we'll already be extracting our first honey because that's when that linden tree blooms. And I want to keep the linden separate. So I'm going to extract everything that comes in before July. And then at the end of July, I'm going to extract again because the linden will be done. And then after that, I'm going to let everything go. They're going to put away their winter stores. And then whatever is left after that, I'll be able to take off the top. Anyways, where are we at in our comments? How's it going, everybody? Sauce, how's it going? Haven't I gotten you modded up here yet? I guess not, obviously. Let me try and do that now. I think it's right here, maybe. Oh, no, that's engage. Nope, nope. Let's see. Hope you're doing well. Close. Oh, maybe we click on it, right? Yeah. Click on sauce. There we go. Add as moderator. We're working on our beehive today. I like to have 2 beehives. This year we're only going to have one, same as last year. We've been starting in YouTube. That takes a tremendous amount of time for me. I'm going to back up the comments here. Missed a few, looks like. Okay. Boy, all I smell is beehive right now. They have a definite smell, a beehive does. All right, let's see. Lazy Cloud says, yes, I found the Ohio Beekeeper Association. Oh, yep. Well, that's good. That's exactly what we want to do. I'm not so much connected with all that stuff, but I did have a mentor for a couple of years. And I don't know. I don't like spending a lot of money on anything, so I'm not going to go because like the U of M, the University of Minnesota has a group that gets together. Actually, the guy I get my bees from, you would have seen him in that video today. He does some of the seminars down there. Let's see. Okay, so they have a small group near Lazy Clouds. Cheers, nice. Cheers, Sin. Okay, there's Sin Grows. Galaxy, how's it going? Let's see. Lazy Cloud says the same. Potted the Kush today. Okay, that's where I left off. Bees terrify. Okay. Sorry, Galaxy. Highly allergic. Yeah. Dang, that sucks. I did have one experience where my leg swelled up enough to where I had to walk on crutches for a few days, and my tongue swelled up one time from getting stung on the tongue because he was in my pop, or she was in my pop. I couldn't talk really for a couple of days. So cheers, Sauce says cheers. Cheers to Galaxy. There we go. Sometimes my touchpad gets a little cold here and doesn't want to work. Galaxy could eat honey. So here's the thing. You can he could probably eat the venom. The venom is a protein, and your body will digest it internally if you eat it, just like with any other protein. So it's when it gets injected into your skin, or I imagine coming in contact. No, you might have a problem getting it past your mouth, I guess, but your body can digest it. Like rattlesnake venom and shit. I got a text here. Yeah, doing live now. one of my other gromies. He's got bees too. I got him started. I got a few people into the freaking habit. Yeah, it's a very sticky freaking habit. Let me tell you, I gotta get some water and let's smoke one, huh? Finish off my monstro. And you know what? I picked up this little tidbit here I think you can read that, uh, to mess with. And I put some in a little starter, like seedling pot with some soil in it, and popped a seed and covered that seed with a little glass cup. And the humidity in there, in like 2 days, there's fungus growing all over in there. So if you're looking to grow some fungus, this is a non-paid. And really, I mean, it's got, wow, I don't know what all them good things is, the bacterias and stuff, man. Hoo-wee. I mean, I think some of that's going to go in my compost teas for certain. And it's going in my mound and all over the place. But it's basically, you just want it in the root zone area. So you don't need to spread it all over your soil. It's just going to make, you know, beneficial relationships with other shit. You want to forming them beneficial relationships with your shit. So let me point out my my gromies here. These are my Minnesota gromies. We've got some slaps from Minnesota Grow Talks and Night Owl and Garden Cultivation, Organics and Bunny, North Star Buds, Frostbud Farms, Garden in the North, Scotty 420, Dr. Dank Nugz. Shout out all them guys. Yeah, let's see, what time is it? 59. All right, let's see if we can get on the Dr. Dank Nugz Show. One more quarter. How's it going? What's up? Now, I will say I might lose this stream when I try and do this because I haven't done this part before. Now, I don't know if I should try and share this one with another tab or just go to that tab. I think I'm just going to go to that tab. And I'll probably shut everything off. Go. So I'm going to lose the chat on here, but I should be able to see it over there if I look close enough. Boom. And he's usually pretty much on time. I see his thing right here already. All right. Boom. There's his chat. Having some issues with my damn screen here, though. All right. So we're in his chat. He is not started yet, but we're getting ready. Yep. Oops. I think I just. There. I might not have enough bandwidth to do this. It is really choppy. Let me get some earphones. Mhm. Pretty choppy here. See what happens. You know what? This ain't gonna work doing this, I don't think.